Good evening. My name is Boris Karloff. Welcome to my 30th Internet Masterclass. Tonight I'm excited to bring you part 3 of Beginning Jazz Improvisation, using arpeggios and extensions in your lines. Welcome. This is a technical class that has been designed for beginning improvisers on all instruments and voice as a way to add the musical elements of basic arpeggios and arpeggio extensions into your improv lines. This class directly follows the first 2 parts of this series available on YouTube, all of which are offered as a clear, step-by-step way to approach improvisation. In part 1 of this class, Intro to Chord Mapping, we looked at the basic chord progressions that form the harmonic language of jazz standards and the scales for improvisation that are related to those progressions. In part 2, we explored the improv concept to use while improvising over the basic and extended progressions and learned to extend your improv ability to include complete tunes. My intention tonight is to show you how we can add the basic arpeggios and arpeggio extensions into your improv lines, and how to blend the scales and arpeggios to create hip musical lines while improvising. In part 2, we defined beginning jazz improvisation as a process that involved creating complete musical phrases or statements using primarily the notes of the underlying scale, generally played in groups of 4 swing eighth notes with a slight accent on the first of the 4. We talked about the basic template of good melodic lines: flow, phrase, breathe. Each improvised line flows for a while, ends at a point of intuitive completion, and then you rest and listen into the space of the rest until you get an internal signal to begin the next line. While this definition of jazz improvisation is simplistic, my intention was to give beginners an effective way to break through and begin the process. To review, when you desire to improvise over a new tune, first map the chord progressions of the tune and determine the related chord scales. Then, for pianists, decide on a basic voicing arrangement and practice the left hand alone a lot, with a slow metronome until the chords flow more or less easily. Then improvise using the flow, phrase, breathe concept from part 2 over the A section of the tune alone, then the bridge alone, then practice improvising over the whole tune structure slowly. Rest for a few seconds when you're finished improvising after each completed chorus. Rinse and repeat. The idea when you begin improvisation on a new complete tune is to maintain the chord structure without losing it as you improvise simple flow, phrase, breathe lines. I'll demonstrate these basic musical elements and improv concepts, playing a chorus or 2 of Gone with the Wind, using primarily notes from the underlying scales at a cool tempo of 92. I'll start with the melody. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm trying to make complete swing eighth note lines using mostly scaled tones. Occasional triplet is nice. Trying to hold on to the chords in the left hand. Pause, I wait and feel into the space until I get a signal to play, and then get that flow going again. It never ends, folks. Sometimes higher, sometimes lower. Complete phrase, triplet, short phrase, breathe. I get a signal to play here. Pause. A little bit longer line. Pause. Short line. Mistakes are allowed. Once the basic improv process has gotten into your DNA, we can expand your improvising range by introducing new musical elements and new improv concepts. Improvising over tunes is like creating a gourmet meal. The master chef knows which ingredients to use and how to combine them for the best gustatory effect. Tonight we'll add the musical element of arpeggios and extensions to our improvisations. I think you're going to dig it. Here is a semi-professional chart of the first 4-note arpeggios we will add to your playing. The first arpeggio to add is the 4-note arpeggio of the basic underlying chord that you're improvising over. We'll be using the basic 7th chord arpeggio here, not the arpeggio of any inversion of the basic 7th or of the arpeggio of the voicing that you may be playing at that time. We'll generally flow the arpeggio either straight up, bottom to top, or straight down, top to bottom. Let's take a look at our basic arpeggios. We'll take each one. I'll show you how it plays out in the key of C. For major 7, we're looking at 1, 3, 5, 7. So I'll flow that up, close my eyes and visualize it on the keyboard, and then I'll flow it down, 7, 5, 3, 1. You can play it as a block if you like after you visualize it separately. Now we'll go to the dominant 7 basic arpeggio. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 5, 3, 1. The minor 7, 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7 in the key of C, flat 7, 5, flat 3, 1. The minor 7, flat 5 or half diminished. 1, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7, flat 7, flat 5, flat 3, 1. The diminished. 1, flat 3, flat 5, 6, 6, flat 5, flat 3, 1. And finally the minor 6 chord, which is considered a basic family of 7th chords in jazz. 1, flat 3, 5, 6, and down, 6, 5, flat 3, 1. Here's how you incorporate the arpeggios into your playing. Before you start improvising, slowly run the arpeggios for all the chords you'll be playing over. First 1, 3, 5, 7, then 7, 5, 3, 1. After you complete the ascending flow of the arpeggio, close your eyes and visualize it on the keyboard, or sing it for non-piano players. Then flow the basic arpeggio descending and visualize and or sing that. Do this a few times in both directions so you can start to internalize the sounds and shapes of the arpeggios. Now I'm going to improvise over Gone with the Wind, intentionally incorporating the basic 4-note arpeggios into my lines. The scales and arpeggios should flow together in an irregular ratio, naturally. Your ear will tell you when to add the arpeggios into the lines. There's a natural combination of scales and arpeggios that forms the basic language of jazz. You will discover this as you practice. Here's a course of improvising over Gone with the Wind, using a free-flowing combination of scales and arpeggios. Sometimes I'll start my line with an ascending scale, then switch to a descending arpeggio as an example, or I may start with an ascending arpeggio followed into a descending scale passage, and so on. 1, 2, 3, 4. After you've explored using basic arpeggios in your improv lines, you're ready to add our next musical element, arpeggio extensions. Like every other subject in the world of jazz, the use of arpeggio extensions can keep expanding to infinity. But for tonight, we'll focus on the 3-5-7-9 extension. Here is a professional diagram of the 3-5-7-9 arpeggio extensions for all the chord qualities. Okay, let's take a look at the extensions now for the basic arpeggios. These are all forms of 3-5-7-9. For a major 7, the extension is always going to be 3-5-7-9. For the dominant 7, you have two choices. If the dominant 7 is resolving to a major, like C7 to F major, we'll generally use the 3-5-flat-7-9 extension. Sometimes you can use the flat 9 on this too. If you're resolving a dominant chord to a minor tonic, like C7 to F minor 6, we'll generally want to use the 3-5-flat-7-flat-9. That's if you're going to a minor tonic. For the minor 7th chord, the extension is flat 3, 5, flat 7, 9. It's kind of a nice mellow sound there. For our half-diminished chord, nothing really sounds great on this, but you'll generally get away pretty good with the flat 3, flat 5, flat 7, flat 9. Still a kind of a strange sound, but it'll work in a line. For our diminished, we're looking at an extension of flat 3, flat 5, 6, 9. That's a real nice one there. And for our minor 6, it's a nice extension of flat 3, 5, natural 7, 9. Really nice hip sound there. Those are our basic arpeggio extensions. The extensions have a hipper sound than the basic 7th chord arpeggios due to the use of the 9th in the chord. You can invent more extensions incorporating other tensions into your arpeggios. The possibilities are many. But for the beginning improviser, using the combination of chord scales, basic arpeggios and extensions, along with the improv concepts, will get you swinging. I'll now play a chorus or two of Gone with the Wind, using the basic 4-note arpeggios, the extensions, and chord scales. Remember, when you start adding arpeggios into your playing, try running them either straight up or straight down, flowing into a scale passage for a bit, flowing into another arpeggio of your choosing, and so on. Start slowly without a metronome, then try playing at a slow metronome speed. Then you can learn to burn. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you are improvising using mostly scale-like lines, your playing will start to sound like scales after a while. By using arpeggios and extensions, you can open your sound to include notes that have wider intervals between them. The natural combination of scales, arpeggios, and extensions will have a great sound. At times the notes will be close together, at other times they'll be further apart. The balance of close and wide intervals between the notes forms the backbone of the basic language of jazz. A really cool and helpful exercise is to take 4 bars or so of a tune that you're working on without a pulse and explore all kinds of different combinations of scales, arpeggios, and extensions slowly. This will familiarize you with many of the choices you have at any given time. Bill Evans said, "It's better to play one tune for 24 hours than 24 tunes in an hour." He was referring to this type of practicing where you extract a limited part of a tune and explore all the possibilities for improvising slowly over that small section. Now I'll demonstrate a free-flowing combination of the scales, basic arpeggios, and extensions just over 4 bars of a tune at a time. It's a great way to practice when you learn a tune. We'll just try the first 4 bars. We're going to take the same 4 bars and I'll try something different. Maybe I'll do a descending scale line first. Now an ascending extension, descending scale, ascending extension, scale. Yeah, just trying to make a complete line each time. Let's try it again, the same 4 bars. Maybe I'll start with an ascending extension on the F minor. Extension here, scale. Scale, extension on the E flat major. Let's try one more on the same 4 bars. Scale, little scale, arpeggio descending, scale, extension, scale. Haha, you get the idea? Let's give it another blast, maybe lower. Scale, extension, scale, extension, scale. Can you dig it? So, to wrap up this interminable lecture, when you start improvising on a new tune, 1. Pick a basic standard from the Great American Songbook. 2. chord map the tune and map out the chord scales that relate to the progressions. 3. Then, for pianists, decide on a basic voicing arrangement for the left hand and practice the left hand alone a lot with a slow metronome until the chords flow more or less easily. Other instrumentalists or singers can try to play the progression on the piano, or just listen to a slow to medium rhythm section background track of the tune to get familiar with the chord sequence. 4. Improvise using the flow, phrase, breathe concept over the A section of the tune alone, then the bridge alone, then practice improvising over the whole tune structure slowly, using only scale tones, using the slices of pizza method, creating flow, phrase, breathe, complete lines of varied lengths. Rest for a few seconds after every completed chorus. 5. Run the basic 7th arpeggio slowly up, bottom, top, and then slowly down, top, bottom, and visualize them. 6. Improvise using scale tones and basic arpeggios. 7. Run the extensions for each of the chords ascending and descending. 8. Improvise using basic arpeggios, scale tones, and their extensions. This should keep you out of jail for a while. After you feel comfortable with this approach, go to your parents' wallets, take out all the green stuff, and send it to me, Dave Frank, at any address in the phone book. I'd like to thank my excellent film person, Shane G. Mahan, for bringing his formidable talents to the production of this video. If you have any questions, comments, compliments, criticisms, or tomatoes, send an email to dfrankjazz@aol.com. And my secretary, who's usually stoned, will respond as soon as she comes down. Please feel free to visit the Masterclass Archive at www.davefrankjazz.com. There are currently 30 in-depth classes for your perusal on a wide variety of jazz and modern music-related subjects, all free for thee. Blessings, and keep swinging from New York City!